Okay, let's go.
You know, the most powerful weapon you have in this entire world is your own brain. But here's the crazy thing. That same incredible tool is, more often than not, the single biggest obstacle standing in your way. So let's break down how David Goggins learned to forge his mind into an absolutely unstoppable force. Just think about the hardest moments in life. I mean, real depression, loss, a deep personal struggle. As Goggins says, you can't Google that. There's no quick fix. In those moments, it is just you, 24 hours a day, completely alone with your own mind. And that, right there, is where the real battle begins. Okay, so that brings us to the first big idea here, the untamed mind. You got to see this as the central conflict of your life, this battle for control. Because the hard truth is, if you don't take command of your own brain, it will 100% control you. Look, your mind's default setting is basically lazy. It wants the path of least resistance. It wants comfort. It wants you to just sit back and let those weeds of doubt grow all around you. It's going to constantly whisper in your ear that you can't, that it's too hard. The whole point is, you have to be the one to break free, to grab the controls and tell your brain exactly where you're going. If you let it lead, you're going to stay trapped. So, if the mind is naturally wild, how in the world do you tame it? And that leads us right into our second section, forging the weapon. Goggins found out it's not about some magical moment of inspiration. Nope. It was about turning his mind into a weapon through relentless, repetitive, and often brutal effort. The method itself is just brutally simple. When Goggins was trying to learn to read for his military exam, he just couldn't get it. So what was the answer? Go back again. When he was failing at swimming, go back again. See, it wasn't about just trying one more time. It was about hammering away at the problem again and again and again until his mind had absolutely no other choice but to give in and learn. And this is the key right here. You have to give yourself no way out. Your mind, it's smart. It knows when you're lying to it, when you're only half committed. But when it finally realizes you are not going to stop no matter what, that's the moment it finally just goes, Roger that. Let's adapt and overcome. So all this relentless effort, it builds into what's probably Goggins' most powerful idea, which brings us to section 3, creating your new norm. This is all about deliberately hitting the reset button on what you consider normal. So what is this new norm? Well, it's a pretty wild psychological shift. It's the act of taking what feels unbearable, the pain, the struggle, the suffering, and making that your new standard, your new home. When you do that, your mind stops freaking out. It stops seeing hardship as this 5-alarm fire and just starts accepting it as another day at the office. And just look at what this actually looks like. On one side, you've got his old norm, 297 pounds, spring for cockroaches, always looking for comfort. On the other side, that's his new norm. We're talking the reality of Navy SEAL training, with broken bones and having to duct tape your own feet just to function. He didn't just put up with suffering. He chose it as his new baseline. And what happens when you do that? Your mind just stops fighting. It accepts this new reality. Being broken isn't a crisis anymore. It's just the state of being. And when that happens, all that internal resistance that drains all your energy, it just vanishes. This is home now. Period. Okay, so what's the payoff for all this insanity, right? Well, that brings us to section 4, the power of suffering. This mindset unlocks a hidden reservoir of power that most people will never, ever access, a power that only shows up when you are broken, but you're still present. You know, maybe the scariest part of this whole story is that back when he was 297 pounds, he honestly thought he was trying hard. He believed that was his 100% potential. He couldn't even imagine the person he was capable of becoming. It just goes to show we often have no clue what's really inside us until we are truly, genuinely tested. The result of all this? He graduated Navy SEAL training 106 pounds lighter. That number, it represents the massive gap between what he thought his limit was and what was actually possible. So you're probably wondering, how in the world did he run on broken shins? Well, it's because his mind had already accepted it as the new norm. He was broken and he was still there. He didn't quit. And by choosing to stay and fight, He tapped into his sympathetic nervous system. That's the fight in fight or flight, which unleashes a charge of raw, primal energy you just can't get to when you're looking for the exit. But why? Why would anyone do this to themselves? A lot of people hear this story and they just think the guy is a sadist. But that brings us to the real reason, our final section, the accountability mirror. The fuel for all this isn't a love of pain. It's something much, much deeper, radical self-accountability. Look, anger can get you started, but it's not enough. Trying to prove them wrong, that stuff just burns out. The drive has to come from something way deeper, what Goggins calls the mineral soil of your soul, a foundation that can't be burned away. It has to be this core desire to build a version of yourself that you are genuinely proud of. And this right here, this quote, gets to the absolute heart of it all. This entire journey was never for external validation. It was because when he looked in the mirror, he was disappointed in the man looking back at him. He didn't love himself. The whole thing was about earning his own respect. And what this all reveals is a powerful truth that flips the script on how most of us think. So many of us are searching for peace as a starting point. But Goggins' philosophy shows that true, lasting peace isn't found by avoiding hardship. It's the reward you earn on the other side of suffering, trials, and being brutally accountable to yourself every single day. And that just turns the whole question right back on us, doesn't it? We all say we want peace. But if we ever consider that maybe it's not hiding in a place of comfort, but waiting for us on the other side of the very challenges we're trying so hard to avoid, where does your peace truly lie?